services within the Career Development Center at KPU. A reminder that this webinar will be recorded and we're going to upload it to our YouTube channel. So you can certainly go back. If you find it that fascinating, you can go back and watch it on YouTube. But of course, it's for those folks that might have missed today's webinar. So today's webinar is in preparation for the Trades and Tech Fair that's coming up next week. So that's on Tuesday, February the 10th. Hopefully we will see you there. So today's webinar is Gear Up for the Trades and Tech Fair, Your Road to Success. Again, my name is Chantel, and in the back end, we have Tatiani, who is the Career Services Officer within the Career Development Center, helping me out with all things webinar today. So the Trades and Tech Fair, as I mentioned, it's happening on Tuesday, February the 10th from 10 a.m. till 1 p.m. And this is sponsored by Ellis Don in regards to the New Surrey Hospital and BC Cancer Centre. So super thankful to them for sponsoring this really great fair that we have. One thing that I did want to say, now we know that it's being recorded. If anyone has any questions, a couple of options here. If you want to just go ahead and type your question in the chat, and you can preface it with a capital Q in case there's some other chat happening in the chat. Not likely, but you never know. So if you could just put it in the chat, preface it with a capital Q, and then I'll get to those questions at the end of today's webinar. Alternatively, you can always, of course, at the end of the webinar, when I open things up for questions, you could just turn your cameras on and your mics on and ask the question that way. Completely up to you, however you'd like to do that. So I'd like to start with a territorial acknowledgement. We at Kwantlen Polytechnic University respectfully acknowledge that we live, work, and study in a region that overlaps with the unceded, traditional, and ancestral First Nations territories of the Musqueam, Katzie, Tsawwassen, Kikite, and Coquitlam, and with the lands of the Kwantlen First Nation, which gifted its name to this university. In the cause of reconciliation, we recognize our commitment to address and reduce ongoing systemic colonialism, oppression, and racism that Indigenous peoples continue to experience. So to kick things off, I thought I would leave this QR code up here and feel free to scan it. And this will bring you to the Trades and Tech webpage. And if you scroll down, you'll see the list of employers that are coming to Tuesday's fair. It's a good idea to do that. You'll see that as we work through the webinar today, but it's a good idea to understand who's going to be there, what they might be looking for, so that you can kind of adjust your, if you plan on handing out some resumes and having some real quality conversations, it might be a good idea to understand who's going to be there, what is it that they do, and what is it that they might be looking for. So just a reminder, make sure everyone can just keep their camera or their mics on mute. That would be great. One thing I did want to talk a little bit about is the Career Development Center. So all you folks over on the Tech Campus, you might not necessarily know about these services, and these are your services as well. So I just want to make sure that you know that we are here, that we're here for you. So the Career Development Center is made up of 3 primary service areas. Career Services, that's my area. So again, I'm the interim coordinator of Career Services, but I'm also a career coach. And so that is my role here to help students and alumni with their job search and career planning. Under Career Services, we also have volunteer services. So that's where we encourage students to volunteer on campus for various events, and certainly off campus as well. In fact, on Tuesday, when we're running the fair, we will be relying heavily on a few student volunteers that will help us out throughout the day. We also have cooperative education as part of the Career Development Center. There's a number of programs at KPU that offer a co-op as an option. And so the fabulous team works under the Career Development Center. Then finally, employer relations. Now, the Trades and Tech Fair that we're hosting on Tuesday, that is an employer relations, that certainly falls within their basket. they're the ones that are working really hard to get the employers to come to our fairs, including the Trades and Tech Fair. And so it's a big, big partnership with Career Services and Employer Relations. And of course, we couldn't do it without them. They are the ones, of course, that secured our fabulous sponsor, Ellis Don, in addition to all the other wonderful employers that are coming on Tuesday. So visit us online. That QR code will take you to our main website. And please do follow us on social media as well. One thing to know, if you need us, and you might not, but once you leave KPU, if you need any of the career services, career coaching, resume review, any of those things, you are always welcome to come back. You have unlimited services from the Career Development Center. So that's really important to know. I think it's a really, really big perk. Okay, so here's a few things that we're going to cover. So there's quite a few things we're going to cover today, actually. I didn't design webinars, for specific topics. I thought if I can, for the most part, communicate the key important areas within this one webinar, that would probably be best. I know you're all really, really busy. So we're going to start off, of course, with some resume tips, but also tips on navigating the actual fair. So just ways that you can stand out. They're going to be talking to a lot of students, maybe even some alumni will be coming out to chat with them. And so, what are some ways that you can stand out to these human resources or, hiring managers? Part of that will be crafting an effective elevator pitch. So I'm going to walk you through that a little bit, how to network confidently, and beyond that. So once you have the job, once you have the career, looking at ways to ensure your career growth through, on the job success. And the goal, of course, of today's webinar is to really help you stand out and land the opportunity that you would like with the organization or with the company that you would like in your trade. All right, so why hiring fairs matter? Because they still do matter. This is an excellent opportunity for students and employers to come together, have great conversations, learn about each other, and it helps students to identify, companies that they really want to target. So, of course, meet, learn, and connect. So it allows you to meet with potential employers, have those really important conversations in person, begin those professional conversations. Learn about opportunities, apprenticeships, and entry-level positions that they might be offering, growth potential as well. And then, of course, making connections. So those connections that you make at places like the Trades and Tech Fair could lead to some really important referrals. And sometimes if something doesn't seem right with one employer, they might recommend you to someone else. So really important conversations are had here. I just wanted to touch a little bit on the importance of trades in British Columbia and the impact that you have on the economy. So currently, there's $174 billion in construction projects in British Columbia. I can't even wrap my head around that number, but it's huge, obviously. The number of trades workers in British Columbia, specifically within construction, is 191,200, and there's a total of 267, 400 construction workers. But of those 1,400 workers, 191 are trades workers. Of that number, a minuscule number of 10,144 are female trades workers in construction, and that's fewer than 5.3%. Which unfortunately that number has kind of dropped from what it was last year. So the number of trades workers in British Columbia grew, but the number of female trades workers in that field did not grow at the same rate. This number also kind of dropped. The anticipated shortage of skilled workers in British Columbia, skilled trades workers rather, in British Columbia by 2033 is 6,600. While that number may have fallen, it's still a huge number. They're still predicting a really, really, big shortage of skilled trades workers. So you are in demand for sure. All right, so let's just jump straight into it. Again, any questions, please feel free to type them in the chat, preface it with a Q, or, at the end of today's webinar, you could just turn your camera on. Well, you don't have to turn your camera on, but certainly turn your mic on and ask your question that way as well. So I'm not going to dive too much into resumes, but I did want to kind of highlight a few key areas within your resume, specifically, contact information, your skills, certifications, work experience, and the education section. So when it comes to your contact information, I don't know how many of you folks have a LinkedIn profile, but I might recommend that you open one up and you think, hey, well, I don't know how much of a demand LinkedIn is in the trades world. Well, you might be onto something there, but the beautiful thing about LinkedIn isn't so much about the networking piece. That's kind of good. It's more about the ability to do research. And so having a LinkedIn account allows you to do a little bit of research about companies. What are they posting on LinkedIn? Who's working for these companies? And it gives you the opportunity perhaps to reach out to them. The folks that you're going to meet on Tuesday from these companies, they very likely have a LinkedIn account. And so this is just another way to stay connected with them once after Tuesday. It's a really nice way. So you can connect with them on LinkedIn as well. So I would recommend, opening up a LinkedIn. And if you would like some help with that, reach out, make a career coaching appointment. I'm very happy to walk you through that. So in terms of contact information, we're really only looking for your first and last name, the city and the province, your phone number and email. So only one phone number. You don't need a cell and your home number if anyone still has a landline. Just one phone number and one email. Of course, you want to keep it PG, but that's it. That's all you need to include with your contact information. You don't need to have your home address listed there. The next section I would recommend is your skills and certifications. So you might have a ton of, you have a ton of skills. You have probably a lot of certifications or certificates. So really what I would recommend is let the job posting or let a job posting kind of guide you in terms of what you do choose to include there. Because if you put too many things there, the important stuff can get lost in the details. So, really just kind of pick and choose which skills you want to highlight because you have plenty, but which skills do you want to highlight based on what you know about the actual role and the company. Your work experience. So here I have an example. So just in terms of the formatting for how you might write your work experience. So you have your job title bolded, the company name, and then the date. Now, I would recommend that you include months. Employers, the hiring managers, human resources, they like to see months in those details. And when you're describing what you do or what you did, if it's a previous role, try to include a bullet that includes 3 key sections. So the situation, the action, and the results. So I'm going to give you an example here, and you'll notice that I have 2 very different examples. One is specific to a trades-related role, and one is related to a job that you might have while you're going to school. So you can take those the skills and the that work experience and really translate it so that it's relevant to any kind of employer. And here's what I mean by that. So the first one is around HVAC. So you'll notice they have the same kind of theme. They start with a verb, so installed, 20 plus HVAC systems, a few details there, ensuring efficiency and customer satisfaction while collaborating with a team of 5 colleagues. So there's a few things really wrapped in there. So you're not just saying that you install HVAC systems. We know, because that's probably your job title, but how did you do it? And so just with this little statement, we're pulling out things like teamwork. We quantified it. So there's 20 plus systems. We mentioned customer satisfaction. So, there's a few skills just in that little statement that you're highlighting. And there's no, it's no different than, that that job you have, working maybe in the kitchen or serving food or as, whatever it might be, as a cleaner, whatever, you can still pull out the skills that an employer might be looking for in a trades related role. So here's an example. So adhered to, so there's your verb, adhered to hygienic food safe policies and practices while preparing food in 50+ seat restaurant. So what you're showing the employer there is that you pay attention to workplace safety. That translates well into any environment. And then the next section, and really the final section, would be your education and training. So here's the thing is that I have this as number 4, but it might be more relevant for you to put your education and training before your work experience, and that's okay, right? So if you're still in your program or you recently graduated from your program and you don't necessarily have trades related work experience, then you might choose to highlight your trades training from KPU. And then the next section, the final section after that, would be your work experience. So under education and training, if you wanted to put and training in there, same idea. We're going to bold the program title. We're going to have a completion date. You don't have to put your start date. The completion date is really all the employer cares about. The institution, and then you might want to highlight a few things. So here I put adhere to shop and safety measures, interpret BC building codes and bylaws. So it's really focusing on your relevant competencies and coursework as it relates to the employer. If there's projects that you completed during your time at KPU, feel free to highlight that project and try to summarize it in a line or two for the employer. All right, so tips for tailoring the resume. So as I mentioned before, the order that you put your sections in is a great way to customize it, right? So you might choose to put your education first, but sometimes, even though you don't necessarily have work-related or trades-related work experience, you might have some work experience that in your research you discovered will be particularly relevant to that employer. So in this case, you might choose to put your work experience section before your education. You've also want to make sure that you're doing your research in terms of the key skills. You have a lot, like I said. So what are the skills and competencies that you have that are most related to the employer based on maybe conversations you've had at the fair or based on job postings that you've read, based on what you know about the company. So, terminology, the way you explain it, if the company itself, like aligning your resume to the company's focus, if you know safety is priority, and for the most part it is for a lot of companies, but you might want to put a real heavy focus on safety related experience, adhering to even food safety measures while working in a kitchen and things like that, right? So really, these are ways that you can kind of speak the language of the employer and understand what the employer is looking for. But starting off with that QR code, when we started off the webinar today, I put the QR code that directed you to the TNT web page where you can find the list of employers that are coming. Start there. So research who's coming. And then, what they're looking for. Chances are you'll know there's a lot of really great employers coming. You know them. Research what they're looking for. They might have some open opportunities listed on their site. Well, that's your template to use to guide you through how to customize your resume. You'll want to ensure that you're bringing copies, for those companies. Like come ready with a printed out resume that was geared and made specifically to a company that you're particularly interested in. Don't forget about those action verbs. So when you're describing what you did or what you do in your jobs or even at school, start with a verb. So to do this, imagine starting with I installed, or I repaired, I designed. Just drop the I and just go straight with the verb. So installed this and this, considering safety protocols and so forth. Include any volunteer or side projects that you might have done. Showing commitment to the community. And you might think, well, it has nothing to do with trades, but it does. It says something perhaps about your character, your ability to work within a team. It shows them your values. And so I would definitely recommend, if you've done some volunteer work, put it on your resume. And you want to format that the same way that you're formatting your work experience section. I'm going to go back here just so that I can show you what I mean. Yeah. So down here, we have the job title. So this would be your volunteer role, the organization name, when you did it, and it's the same idea. You're going to give a good strong bullet about what it is you did, starting with that verb, right? Coordinated, the details, and the impact. So, why did you do that, or what was the impact of you doing that? Okay, so preparing for the fair on Tuesday. As I mentioned, it's kind of how I kicked off the webinar. Make sure that you're researching the companies and create for yourself a priority list. Who do you really want to make sure you have conversations with? Make sure that you put that priority list together and then put together some targeted resumes, print them out. A lot of companies might be very happy to accept that document. In fact, they probably will, and then they might write a few notes on it, for future reference for themselves. Prepare a 15 to 30 second elevator pitch or pitch, and you might have heard of this before, and I am going to get into it in a minute, but typically those elevator pitches, like the tell me about yourself pitches, they're about 30 seconds in length. But when we're at a busy hiring fair, it might be a good idea to knock off a few seconds and maybe go with a 15 to 20-second elevator pitch, and then dress professionally. Okay, I know that you're all going to be in class that day, very likely, and you're going to be dressed for school. Makes sense. Just make sure that you're wearing maybe your best. You feel good in it. It's nice and clean. But most importantly, that you feel really good in it, because if you feel good, you'll project that as well. Okay, so things to think about at the fair. Now I know I think Kulpreet is on the call today, and I think Kulpreet has kind of put together a bit of a timetable when some instructors might be bringing their classes down throughout the duration. There he is. Hey, Kulpreet. Yeah, and so, if possible, arrive as early as you can. But that being said, if you have if your instructor has a time, kind of a dedicated time, then that's great too. By doing that, it does actually kind of spread out the number of students we have going to the fair. And so what happens by doing that, by having a bit of a schedule that we're following, as classes kind of come down and then they leave and then a new class kind of comes down, it allows for better conversations with the employers, because the employers aren't being inundated at one time, with all these students asking questions. So, but if for those of you might not necessarily be, I see your hand, Kulpreet. 1 second, but those of you might not even be in class that day, and you might still choose to come to the fair at any time. Try to make it first thing in the morning, because that's 10 a.m. So that's typically when things are a little bit on the slower end. Kulpreet?
I just wanted to mention, if everyone can hear me, that yeah, like that's a guideline. That's your exclusive window. I've sent it out to the different classes. If any one of the instructors on here did not receive it because I sent it to the original instructor, let me know. But yeah, the idea is simply that your class has at least a 15-minute window. That's just your 15-minute window. Of course, during your lunch, if your instructor lets you out early, or if you're interacting with the employers and you're there for much longer and your instructor is there for much longer, you can be there for as long as you need, depending on what's going on with your class. And that's it. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much for that, Kulpreet. Yeah, and so, with that said, you might have your designated time. I'm pretty sure there's some flexibility with that. But, with that said, if you do have a pretty tight window, then more of a reason to put together that priority list of booths that you want to make sure to have those good conversations with. So visit those top priority booths first. Introduce yourself confidently, right? The smile, the handshake, the pitch. We're going to talk about that in a second. Collect business cards or contact information. And might I recommend that if you're collecting business cards or not, like take some notes after each interaction. This will help you with some follow-ups. And I'm going to mention that a little bit later on about the importance of following up. After you've had the opportunity to chat with a particular company, especially one that really stands out for you, follow up with them. Before you leave, revisit the booths that you're particularly interested in. Remind them, who you are. And if you're planning on applying, let them know, because most of the time, the people that are at these tables representing the company are the human resources, right? And so they are the ones that represent the company. And so if they know that they are promoting the company well enough for you to go, okay, I'm really interested in this company and what you've had to say, let them know, like they're clearly doing a good job at promoting the company. So let them know that you plan on applying. Hopefully you gave them you gave them your resume. Remind them if you did. And you never know, when you walk away, there might be a few notes written there. So, a few things to think about. Okay, so next up, we're going to talk about the elevator pitch, your quick introduction to the employers at the Trades and Tech Fair. So again, we're looking at, anywhere between 15 to 30 seconds. You certainly don't need to go much longer than that. But this is just kind of to get the conversation going, right? So what is the elevator pitch? Well, it's a short summary about you, your skills, and what you're looking for. Now, you might always make adjustments to your pitch depending on who your listener is, right? So depending on who the company is and what it is they specialize in. So the structure, it's three parts to it, really. Who you are, so your name, your trade, your area of specialty, what you offer, so your key skills or certifications, and what you're looking for, so job, apprenticeship, or mentorship. And here's just an example. You can see it's super quick, but it tells the listener everything they need to know about you, and it prompts for further conversation. So here's an example. Hi, I'm Alex, a foundation carpentry student with experience building custom cabinetry and commercial spaces. I specialize in working with sustainable materials. I'm looking for a position with a company that values craftsmanship. Now, you might find that initially, once you say, hi, I'm Alex, I'm a foundation carpentry student, the conversation just kind of flows from there, and they might then ask prompting questions. And it's very likely that the way that you deliver your pitch will not necessarily be in one chunk like this, but rather initial conversation starter, and then your answers to their questions will probably be the rest of what you see here. So those three parts, that structure, who you are, what you offer, and what you're looking for. And again, this is going to be recorded. And then after the fair. So I really can't stress this enough. It's really about, in any kind of job market, it's how can you, as a job seeker, stand out from the competition? How can you stand out from, the rest of the job seekers that are out there? And so, yes, it's important to have a great application and some great training that you're getting from KPU, but it's also about who you are, like how you manage yourself during your job search reflects how you might be as an employee. So if you are interested and enthusiastic and responsible, that will, of course, that demonstrates to the employer what you might be like as an actual employee. So after the fair, maybe the next day, maybe, it's on a Tuesday, so maybe by Friday of next week, you might want to send them a personalized thank you email for taking the time out of their day to come to the TNT fair, for speaking with you. And in that personalized email, mention a specific part of your conversation. So that's where those notes came in handy. I see your hand, Kulpreet. I'll get there in a sec. That's when those notes, like right after you had the meeting, you walk away, you write a few notes. That's where that's going to come in handy. You might want to reattach your resume. And here's the kicker is you want to stay connected on LinkedIn. And so sometimes, students have a hard time going, okay, well, I've made the connection. How do I keep the connection? LinkedIn is a good way to do that. So, consider connecting with them on LinkedIn. And here's an example of a very brief email, very brief thank you email that you might want to send to one of the employers. So, hi, Rob. Thanks for taking the time to speak with me at the TNT Fair earlier this week. The information about the upcoming Scott Road project was really interesting. I'm excited about the opportunity to contribute my whatever your skills are to your team. Please find my resume attached for your reference. Thanks. Your name and your phone number. Kulpreet.
Yeah, just wanted to mention, like, there's a tendency to believe that, like, the hiring manager or a site supervisor is not going to be that formal. For any of the bigger firms that will be attending there might simply be people from HR who are there. Like, they might have a full recruitment team pulling people, and a couple of people from that team happen to be there. So all of these practices might seem a little too formal, might seem really oriented towards other tech jobs, but the person who's actually collecting the hundreds of resumes that they're going to go to, not just for this career fair, but for any upcoming career fair, they will, anything you can do to make their job easier and make yourself be the keen employee that's interested in doing the job will give you such a leg up on getting started in terms of a career.
Yeah, thanks, Kulpreet. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing is that who's going to the fair matters. So when you're having that conversation with them, if they're human resources, that means they are representing the umbrella of the company, right? They're representing the company as a whole, and they tend to be a little bit more formal in how they interact with people. But you might also have the project manager or, kind of like the key manager of particular projects represented there. Same idea. They might not necessarily be as formal, but they will want to know if you're demonstrating enthusiasm at the fair and then sending a very quick thank you email, hopefully they've given you their card, that speaks a lot to them. It doesn't have to be a formal email. You can see this one's pretty casual, but you're taking the initiative. And these are the types of soft skills that employers look for. Now, KPU is teaching you all the hard skills, all the job specific skills, and I'm sure they're teaching you the soft skills too. But this is your way to demonstrate that you have those soft skills, right? You have the hard skills. You know how to do the specifics of the job, but what are you going to be like as an employee? And how you handle your job search and these interactions at fairs demonstrate for an employer what you might be like as an actual employee. Okay, so why is it important? Of course, referrals come in super handy. Again, it all comes down to how can you stand out from the rest of the competition? You all have very similar hard skills, technical skills, trades related skills. You all kind of have that same stuff. So what you need to use is more those soft skills, those personal skills to allow you to stand out. So having those important conversations so that, the employer, the human resources person or the hiring manager feels good about referring you on. It allows you to build relationships with industry and insiders, and it allows you to research the ideal company and team that you might be interested in working for. It's reciprocal. Like, it's not just for them to identify you as a potential candidate, but it's also for you to identify them as a potential company, as a potential employer. And so it really is a great opportunity. Networking, having these conversations really is a great opportunity for you to get that important intel. Is this a company I think I would want to work for? Is this someone that I would be interested in reporting directly to? That can all be answered by interacting at places like a hiring fair. So at the hiring fair, ask questions, engage with them, be curious, right? What types of apprenticeships do you offer? What do you look for in new hires? I have a couple more example questions. Make sure that you offer value. And the only way that you can offer value is by understanding what their needs are. So if you understand that they just got a big contract, something new is on the pipeline, understand what their needs might be in terms of their talent recruitment. Follow up after meeting someone. So just send that brief email, connect with them on LinkedIn, right? And then maybe on LinkedIn, if you're connected with them, send them a brief message. Be genuine and show enthusiasm. So this is your opportunity. Like I said, most of the people that are coming down and chatting with these employers, you all are kind of equal in terms of your skill level, right? And as far as they know. So it's that communication piece, that connection piece that will allow you to stand out. So a few more, sample questions that you might be interested in asking when you're at the fair. This is just some examples. You might, and please do, come up with your own questions based on the research that you've done. Visit the list of employers that are coming to TNT and pull out your own questions based on them. So what's the biggest project your team has completed recently? What certifications do you recommend for someone in my trade? Do most apprentices complete their full training with your company? All right, so common networking mistakes. I don't want to talk about this too much because I don't want to say what not to do. I really want to focus on what to do in order for you to stand out, but really making sure that, you've made it very clear to them that you've done your homework, you know who they are. I would definitely not recommend walking up to a table and saying, hey, so, whatever, ADC Corporation, what do you guys do? Remember, it's very likely in some cases it's going to be human resources. They're really proud of the company they're representing. So it's important that you walk up to a table, say their name out loud, their company name out loud, and talk about what you know about them. Again, avoiding talking too much about yourself, speak about the company, what you know about them, and then failing to follow up. So stand out as much as you can, send that brief email, connect with them on LinkedIn. So key points that we've talked about or that we've covered up to this point, bring tailored resumes, for your targeted companies, prepare and practice your elevator pitch, research, maybe some of the classes that are on the call today, maybe that could be something that you do together in class is just preparing to introduce yourself. Research and plan for the fair. Right. So identify who's coming, what kind of contracts they're working on, what kind of talent pool they're looking for. Network genuinely, be confident. As we saw the numbers, like you're entering a really high demand field, right? 6,600 anticipated shortage by 2030. So that's a big gap. The other thing we want to consider is how you show up to the job. So again, I've mentioned this already, the importance of those soft skills, so those personal skills that shows an employer, how you are going to be as an employee and as a colleague. All of these things, particularly punctuality, absenteeism, attitude, workplace safety, these are key concerns for employers within the trades. So really making sure that, and here's the other thing is those jobs that you held that have nothing to do with trades while you were maybe studying at KPU and, you're working at a local restaurant or whatever, it demonstrates that, that you have those soft skills as well. So promote those just as much as you would any trades related job on your resume. All of these things, all of these soft personal skills really do contribute to a strong professional growth. So think about the kind of people you would like to work with and be that person, right? Someone who shows up, someone who understands the importance of workplace safety and who takes their job really seriously. Those are ways that you can stand out and move up in your professional growth, right? In your career. A survey conducted by ABC Life Literacy Canada reveals that 92% of employers consider soft skills, so things like punctuality and time management and teamwork, to be equally or more important than hard skills when evaluating potential candidates, right? So it's equally important. All right, so I'm leaving you with a few resources there. Career Connection. I know that a lot of students over on the Tech Campus don't necessarily know about Career Connection. So Career Connection is your career hub at KPU. So it's single sign-on, but you need to be a KPU student or alumni to access it. And on that website, there is a job board. There's an extensive resource library. Any event that the Career Center hosts will be listed there under events. It's a really, really important resource for KPU students. And again, like you all pay a fortune in student fees. These are one of the things you pay for. Like you're already paying for this stuff. Advisor Connect. So that's where you go to make an appointment with a career coach. And like I said, this webinar is being recorded so that we can upload it to our YouTube channel, where if you hop over there now, you'll see, tons of previously recorded webinars as well. And I'm going to end it there. I think I'm going to stop sharing my screen, but if anyone is interested in me going back to a particular slide, then I can certainly do that. But what I'll do right now is I'm going to stop sharing, and I am going to see if anyone has any questions for me. Oh, I could see. Okay, so sorry, Wayne, I can see that. I can see that your classroom could not hear. I certainly hope that was adjusted or fixed. Wayne?
We were able to fix that.
Oh, you were. Okay, good. Yeah. Again, there is the recording, but it's not like you want to sit through this and then, have to go back and watch the recording. But hopefully, yeah, it sounds like everything was fixed. So that's great. Yeah. Any questions, feel free to type it in the chat, or feel free to just, turn your mics on and ask the question that way. I'll wait a few minutes just to see. I see that we're just at 10:12, so we do have a few more minutes. Yeah. In the meantime, too, I do encourage all of the oh yeah, so Tatiani, can you please put the link to our YouTube channel in the chat there? Rob has asked for that. Yeah, it's KPU CDC YouTube, but I think Tatiani will put the link for that in the chat. Yeah, yeah, in the meantime though, I do encourage everyone, go on, and maybe if Tatiani, if you can also put the direct link to the Trades and Tech webpage, and then that way, maybe instructors can just take a quick perusal through the page, and if you scroll down to the bottom, you'll see the employers that are that will be coming out to that fair as well. There it is in the chat. Thank you so much for that.
And just related to that, just a reminder that every week, Career Services sends us trade-related jobs that they've seen, and we post it as part of the Wednesday Weekly. So those jobs are all on Career Connection. Share them with your students, encourage them to create the account.
Yeah, great. Okay. Oh, we have someone who's just joining the meeting a little bit late, but yeah, if you go ahead and let them in, Tatiani. Hi there for thank you for joining. We've just finished the webinar, but not to worry. We did put the link to the CDC YouTube channel in the link, and so you can certainly go back and watch the recording. We did record today's webinar, so you can watch the recording there. In the meantime, I do I do recommend that you visit our website, which is also on the in the chat there, the TNT website, the Trades and Tech website, where you can find a list of all the employers that are coming. I think we're looking at about 25 employers, with EllisDon being the key sponsor for TNT this year. Yeah, well, it looks like we don't have any more questions, so I am certainly happy to end things here and give everyone 15 minutes of time back. I'll leave it if anyone has any more questions. If not, feel free to go ahead and exit, and enjoy your day. Thank you all so much for joining us today, and please do visit our Career Center webpage so you can find out about all the services that we have for you KPU students. So thank you very much, everyone. Enjoy the rest of your day, and we'll see you at the fair next week.